We will talk about the topic opportunities and challenges of integrating ESG. So I think the speakers you have just met on my left, so Mr. Alex Hong, and on my right, Professor Zheng, Professor Louis Zheng. So both are very renowned, business making money people. So we're gonna this is the end of session, right? We have to talk about how we actually make money, right? It's very important, right? Although I keep telling Louis, we are asked to wear less, and he thought about it something else. But anyway, so how are we going less wear more elegantly and circularity, right? So the first question to maybe first to direct to Professor Zhang, and then Mr. Hong can also answer about opportunities from integrating ESG into business practice, and is there a way to do it that helps us also make money and also achieve the ESG goals? Professor Zhang.
Thank you. I think Leanne confused about professor and actually asset manager. Asset manager make money. Professor talk about money. I think we talk about it and we have the illusion we can make it, but I'm not sure about it really. And I was sharing with you all that we actually have some information about the fashion industry as the performance in ESG. So I forgot about sharing that information from my research assistant this morning. So using this opportunity, I'm going to share this and relate the answer to the question Leanne asked, which is how we can make opportunity by relating ESG effort and performance in fashion industry, assuming that they are large companies, that listed firms, and how we can use this ESG effort to make some money. Okay, and here is my 3 cents of worth. In case that you actually buy some stock and lose money, and my disclaimer is it's nothing to do with my recommendation tonight. All right, so if I look at the ESG performance from my iScore ranking, is quite disappointing to say that as the textile industry, we have many different ways to define industry. And the industry we use here is the GICS Code 3, which is very detailed. And we have 61 different industries in Hong Kong. And out of the 61 industry, the fashion industry, textile industries is ranked 55 in the I score, which is quite bad, out of 61, which is bottom tier. And then for the E, environmental only, the E score, IE score, it ranked 57, which is pretty bad too, out of 61. And eventually for the S score, which I think the materiality is both E and S, they rank 38, which is a little bit better. So the conclusion here is, if under this kind of relatively bad industry level performance of ESG in the ranking based upon top ESG rating provider in the world, MSCI, Sustainalytics, Asset4, Bloomberg, all this rank you guys pretty low. What do we do? And in the asset management industry, have you heard about something called buy low, sell high? Something like that, not the other way around, not the opposite way. So if you think about a strategy, the relative performance of the industry is quite bad compared to the other industry. It means that globally, all the international investor may be reluctant to buy fashion stocks in the region, in Hong Kong, in mainland China, because the ranking of the ESG performance did not pass the high requirement from the European investors, because European investors have very high standard ESG requirement for all the stock they buy in every portfolio. Very high. And then after that, North America. The worst requirement is Asia, of course. So therefore, if you want some European investor to buy your company, to invest in your company, to do business with a company, there's a huge opportunity to pick on stocks that actually relatively within the industry has high ESG performance. Why? Now, this is another point I want to remember. The 80-20 rule. 80% stuff I say is garbage and you can sleep on it. The 20% is actually important. This is the 20% the second time. We in finance talk about asset pricing is if the company has high ESG performance in Europe, all the investors already want high ESG performance stock. So everybody buy them. Demand is very strong. So therefore, the price already bid up. It will refer a high price to buy stock with high ESG performance. But in Hong Kong, it's not because nobody care about it yet. So therefore, you pick a stock within the industry, have relatively high ESG performance, you don't have to pay for it. There's no ESG premium. This is what I said. So therefore, my answer is too long. So the conclusion here is, you pick some stock within the industry, have decent ESG performance, sit on it. When the European investor come in, the North American investor come in, they will look for your stock. And when the demand there, your stock price go up. You don't have to earn more profit. You don't have to do anything. It's just the ESG premium will be realized that you make more money. And let's stop here.
Thank you. So we are not recommending you to buy any stocks, but if you are a fashion company, you can try to become the top of the rank. That's the key message. Okay, Mr. Hong, please share your thoughts.
So actually, I think the key opportunity, okay, that when we try to have apply ESG practice consideration to the business practice, okay, because back to my I'm work in IT consulting and for many years. In fact, I think that's good for the innovation because when you integrate ESG consideration into the business practice, okay, and we can have more business because if you have that requirement to have ESG, and then the company, okay, especially for a listed company, they have more reasons to spend money to help them to stay ahead of the curve, okay, because actually if the companies need to develop sustainable products and services, okay, and they want to have better or competitive advantage and capture market share, so they need to have more innovation, because before that they will not spend any money, any manpower to that. Okay, we will have no business. Okay, but now we have more business because of the ESG, and actually I think it's about the innovation. Yeah.
Thank you. So moving on to the next question. So can you share some successful examples? So you were talking about more business, so some successful examples that they use or integrated. For example, you talk about IT solutions, right, into maybe fulfill SDG goals or ESG practice and achieve good outcomes.
As in my PowerPoint, I talk about Patagonia. Okay, but you can have a look of Patagonia because in the fashion industry. But I'm from IT industry. I like the example of Tesla. Okay, actually I drove my Tesla since 6 years before. Okay, I drive here, and Tesla is a very good company. They make use of sustainability of its business model, and now it's not only for the Tesla's product and also the stock price. Okay, is I think you may know about that is too high now, but why is from the increment is very amazing. I think they apply the ESG and then they can do it even better. And also that the success of Tesla now inspires other car companies, okay, in the whole world to invest in the electric vehicles, okay, for the whole world. So, and then we have more sustainable technologies, okay.
That's right. Professor Zhang?
I have been involving in being the ESG award for listed firms in Hong Kong for many years. I'm the chairman of the ESG panel, judging panel for Master Insight Chucky Minga, and also for the Hong Kong Investor Relations Association, also the chairman of the ESG award, also the final round judge of the Hong Kong ICPA award, and also 2 months ago, TVB also announced an ESG award, and they draft me into this judging panel. So all this judging about ESG performance, how they can make a story successful. Now, I'm not bragging about it. In the ESG judging process, I require a very clear message, which is a story. I do not like company check boxes, what I've done, and all this, number, how you fulfill requirement. If a company has a passion on E or S, they have to write the story out and tell us. So I cannot name names because if that's the case, I'm giving advertisement to a company that I gave award to. So you go to Central, some real estate companies, you go to like Central Market, 中環街市, you can see a little bit of the big screen TV. Some company actually advertising the ESG passion, what they do for the society, what they do in the environment. And all this actually can bring good business. You can certainly charge high rent. To me, the conclusion is ESG integration, the business model can bring business, but it's not just mechanically check boxes. You have to have a story, passion about what you promote. If you do that, the people wouldn't pay more to do your service, to buy your services.
Thank you. So, echoing the concept, the premium of SDG or ESG efforts should reflect in a good product, or it could be reflecting in a good story, so people will buy your things, right? So that is something that is very important for when you're trying to implement them, not just for regulatory or checkbox purpose. Okay, the third question about the financial implication of integrating ESG into the business practice. How can we measure it? I think someone asked about this question in the audience today, I think at the back, about how do we actually measure? So many measurements, which one is correct? Maybe we start with Professor Zhang and then Mr. Hong.
Measuring the...
we talk about the materiality.
You're measuring the impact of...
Financial implications. How do we measure the success of such?
Oh, okay. All right. Being a professor, I have to do research. Otherwise, university will fire me the next day. So we have to do a lot of research, which happens to be my passion. And one or two projects we involved in measuring the outcome of ESG performance relating to financial impact is look at assuming, I think it's reality. Every firm has limited resources. You cannot have billions of dollars to spend. So under limited resources, how do you allocate your money or effort to E versus S versus G? And we found that there's a trick you can play. The long story short is companies look at how much effort and money they have. Do not blindly allocate equal amount of money into the E and S and G. Just a focus on certain aspect. Of course, materiality issue, there's a focus more. Okay, and I was told by a BlackRock hedge fund buy-side asset manager. They said that in terms of regulating ESG, what a company should do is to allow the board of governance, the board of directors every year, sit together to talk about what will be the most important aspect of E or S that companies should engage. Do not go through the whole mechanism of doing everything. Just pick one or two things every year, and then the company will spend effort to focus on that, and you measure the impact. If you spend the money everywhere, then it's hard to measure what's the financial outcome of it. So therefore, my conclusion here is, I think we should focus on what is important and then just do that one thing. And then next year, you can continue or move on to another thing. If that's the case, actually, it's quite easy to see the real impact and the financial impact.
Thank you. So I guess the same also applies to selecting SDG goals. The same principle will apply. Mr. Hong.
So I think it's for the positive implication is about increased efficiency and also the cost savings. Of course, maybe have negative implication for the increased cost as well. And also, I think it's for the improved reputation, and that's a brand value for that.
Thank you. So I think just wrapping up the last words about future directions. So if Mr. Hong can share, what do you think about the future trends? What should we look for?
I think for the ESG reporting, okay, I think we really need to have some standardization, because nowadays we have different kinds of course we need to have the story, okay, as what Professor Jan said. But because from my IT background, I think it's more standardization. It's easier to let the company to have the reporting, and also we have more integration of technology, just like some more about the AI and also data analytics. Okay, and then they can improve the sustainability performance and try to have a more optimization of the operations.
Thank you.
I think this is the solution that we provide cannot be done by the group of people here today. The government has to help. I think there are many barriers that we can achieve better ESG integration in business in Hong Kong. The two major problems that we always talk about is one, lack of understanding what is ESG. That means coming to seminars like today, you learn more about ESG, so you know what you're talking about. The second one is lack of clear benchmark. Because when you say you're good, compared to what? You know, you cannot just say, I pick one angle I'm good at, and you pick another angle that you are good at, and everybody's good, nobody's bad. I mean, this is the way that we are doing now here in Hong Kong. We call that ESG washing or greenwashing. We just say things are good, we hide things are bad, so that we can say to the stakeholders and the shareholders we're doing a good job. I think we should drop this bad habit. Just be truthful of what the data tell you and using good benchmark to evaluate yourself. And the Hong Kong government has to say something about what is the right benchmark. So that we use the same yardstick to measure everybody. Then for those that are lagging behind, they can improve. Now nobody needs to improve because there's some award in Hong Kong, you just give some money, they will give it to you. And so everybody can say we are very good because we got an award. I think that is what happened right now.
Okay, thank you, and very enlightening topics that we kind of integrate the SDGs also into ESG topics, of course, because it's all about finance and making money, right? So thank you very much for both speakers for sharing your enlightenment to all the audience here, and we look forward to tomorrow's seminar. Thank you.